Hi, I'm Engineer Hoist, and these are my top 17 Transformers figures of 2017. These are my favorite figures that were added to my collection in 2017, even if they were released in prior years. So now without further ado, let's get to the list. First up, some honorable mentions. I used to work for the NASA shuttle program, so I'm a sucker for any space shuttle related toy. So it's no surprise that Shuttle Robo is in my collection. On top of being a space shuttle, it's just a really good toy with a nice transformation and is quite posable. These guys are only honorable mention because I know they'll be on the list next year with the rest of their team as they form War Giant, aka Bruticus. They're exactly what you'd expect from Iron Factory. Gobs of personality and insane articulation all packed into a legend scale figure. Just like the War Giant bots, Iron Factory's Bridge Watcher, aka Shockwave, just misses the cut because I'm likely to lump him in with the rest of the War Giant set since I hear he'll be able to held while he's in gun mode. He does have tabs on his handle after all. Power of the Primes is just getting started, but the early returns are very promising. I've got Slash here to represent that start because it's nice to see that not only the entire Dinobot team getting a mainline release, but they've got a new team member, even if she doesn't participate in that whole combiner thing. After only releasing a couple of leader-sized Optimus Prime figures with the new Western Star truck mode in the Age of Extinction line, which I passed on because they don't fit my collection, I was happy to see this Voyager class figure in the Last Night line. He's actually a pretty nice figure too, with decent articulation and fairly clean transformation, especially compared to his Age of Extinction counterparts. Titan's Return gave us a bunch of great figures, even if I wasn't crazy about all of them being Headmasters. My favorite of the Voyager class is hands down Octane. First of all, he's my first Octane figure, and as can be difficult for triple changes, he looks pretty darn good in all three modes with very few sacrifices. Now on to the bots that made the cut. Badcube just released a couple of Masterpiece style mini bots with Grump, aka Gears, and Swerve, aka Slick. Grump is clearly the better of the two, looking spot on to his G1 representation in the cartoon. They even gave the ability to remove his personality component from his chest and a corresponding happy face to mimic the story from the G1 episode Changing Gears. Another mini-bot from Badcube, Brawny, aka Braun, was released in 2014, but I missed out until the reissue this year, and I'm glad I picked him up. He's everything Braun should be. Short, stout, solid, and surly. I got his Wavemate too, Backland, aka Outback, but Brawny is leaps and bounds a better figure. Fans of Hoist were treated to a trio of Masterpiece figures from third-party companies, with Badcube, Ocular Max, and X-Transbots all releasing a version. Naturally, I got all three. Lori from Badcube is probably my least favorite, with a fiddly transformation and colors that are just a bit off. But he does have the unique ability to adjust his height in robot mode to be as tall as their Trailbreaker speed bump, or be a little bit shorter as they were portrayed in the cartoon. Payan from X-Transbots definitely has the best likeness to the G1 toy, and he comes with a load of accessories like the alien mask for both him and Masterpiece tracks, as seen in the G1 episode Hoist Goes to Hollywood. Unfortunately, like Lori, his transformation can be quite frustrating too. Artifacts from Ocular Max is my favorite of the bunch because he not only looks great, even if it's not as faithful to the original figure as the other two, but also because he's more fun because his transformation isn't quite so complicated. Even though The Last Night was my least favorite of the movies. And yes, I have generally enjoyed the movies. The toy line gave us some great figures, especially in the Voyager class. Nitro Zeus exuded more personality in his 2 seconds of screen time than some other bots have across multiple films and was an instant favorite. Fortunately, his toy didn't disappoint. He's got a really slick looking jet mode and transforms into what Shockwave would look like if he were a jet. Pure awesomeness. We voted for him and we got him. Trypticon is the imposing mechanized Tyrannosaurus Rex that he's supposed to be. While he doesn't stand as tall, he's easily as massive, if not more so, than the other Titan figures that we've gotten in Metroplex and Fortress Maximus. I love the gimmick where he can eat the Titan Masters. But the most impressive thing for me is his companion figure, Full Tilt, who's way more than just a chest minion. He's a full-fledged deluxe-sized figure that would not be out of place if put in deluxe class packaging and sold individually. Iron Factory was on fire this year. In addition to great versions of Drift and Deadlock, Optimus Prime and Elite 1, Six Shot, Shockwave, and Brawl and Swindle, we got a practically complete set of Seekers. I loved how there were not one, but two different Build-A-Figures across the whole set. The original Trine would allow you to build a Ghost Starscream, and if you added the Conehead set, you could build Sunstorm. On top of all that, they released a convention-exclusive version of Acid Storm. The best part of all that is it's based on a solid, fun, well-articulated, and great-looking mold. But we're not done yet, because 2018 is going to bring us their version of Slipstream, Shrike's Feather. Speaking of the Seekers, I snagged a reissue of the MP11 Coronation Starscream. The MP11 mold is definitely showing its age compared to some of the newer Masterpiece figures, but it's hardly bad comedy. He made it this high on this list because I love how he looks with that cape and that shiny gold crown on his head. Unfortunately, he missed out on the top 10 because he was foiled again by the Last Night Voyager-class Megatron. He's about as mean-looking as they come, with an imposing silhouette, snarling face, and one of the most lethal-looking swords I've ever seen. On top of all that, you'd be hard-pressed to tell that his alt mode was a jet just by looking at him. That's because he boasts one of the most unique and fun transformation sequences in the Last Night line, and quite possibly any main line ever. Whether you like the movies or not, Megatron is a worthy pick. Next we've got Eagle Robo, aka Leader 1 from Machine Robo. Sure, he's not technically a Transformer, and heck, he's not even technically a third-party figure, since Machine Robo was the original manufacturer of the toys that would eventually become the GoBots, which are now owned by Hasbro. It's a bit complicated. Regardless, this toy is fantastic. He looks the part, is very posable, and has one of the cleanest looking jet alt modes ever. When you find a jet transformer that doesn't bear any resemblance to a jet that's just carrying a robot underneath, combined with aerial bots, you know you found yourself a special figure. Ever since Mastermind Creations started releasing figures based on the IDW comics, I was hoping they would release a figure of Rodimus based on More Than Meets the Eye. It's like he jumped right off the page of the comic and into toy form. They got everything from the exaggerated shoulder, the extra wide spoiler, and the extra spiky head. They even gave an extra head with a smirk so you could show off his trademark arrogance. If you're a Hot Rod fan like I am, this figure is a must-have. Jazz has been a favorite of mine since back in the early days of 1984. His fun-loving, laid-back attitude really appealed to me. But lately, I had noticed a jazz-shaped hole on my Masterpiece shelf. Fortunately, Make Toys released Downbeat to fill that gap. He's a beautiful figure in both robot and alt mode, and I love how you can choose to display him with the wings out like the original toy, or, as I've always dreamed, tucked away like in the cartoon. Other than having a chest that stays tabbed in and having a back bumper that's not quite so ugly, I can't think of any other way that I would improve this figure. After so many years of not having a good Megatron figure that fit the aesthetic of a comic-inspired shelf, Mastermind Creation delivered with Tyrantron. Personally, I'm a fan of Autobot Megatron, but even if you're not, this figure won't disappoint, with the option to swap out his head and multiple other parts so that he can be displayed as his minor self as shown in the fantastic comic Megatron Origins. My favorite features of this figure are the molded in chest scrolls, which are normally only achieved through the use of stickers, and the magnetic Tarn mask that can be placed on his chest to homage the time that he did so in More Than Meets the Eye number 55. All the movie Bumblebee figures over the years have had to make some sacrifice in looks or functionality in order to get the transformation to work. Naturally, it's the Masterpiece figure that nails it. I love how the legs compress to avoid having the back of the car being a huge calf, and even the backpack, while still present, folds up far better than any other Bumblebee figure. On top of all that, the die-cast parts in the legs help add to the premium feel of the figure, and most importantly, the stability. This is definitely an example of using die-cast parts the right way. I didn't get a chance to make a list last year, but Masterpiece Inferno would have definitely been near the top. The way that the ladder folds up into the cab instead of just hanging off to the back is one of the most amazing transformations I've ever seen. Amazingly, Grapple, who's this year's pick, pulled off the same feat even after being heavily remolded. As is to be expected from an official Masterpiece figure, he looks just like he stepped right out of the G1 cartoon. My favorite accessory of his is the miniature prototype of the solar power tower that homages the G1 episode, The Master Builders. That episode saw Grapple and Hoist working with the Constructicons to realize Grapple's dream, only to ultimately become literally part of that dream before it was destroyed. Now we've got Mastermind's Creations Colter, aka Tarn. Words can't describe just how perfect this figure is. Everything from the double fusion cannons to the hidden compartments in the alt mode to the Decepticon insignia face mask is fantastic. From the moment I saw the prototype images, I knew I had to have this figure, and he completely lives up to the hype. To top it all off, he's highly posable and sports a fun, intuitive transformation. There have been some great Optimus Prime movie figures over the years. The Revenge of the Fallen Leader class toy comes to mind. As great as that figure is, it can't compare to the greatness that is MPM4. Everything about him shows that this is a premium figure, from super sharp paint details to plentiful ratchets, great articulation, and smart die-cast. He's a bit pricey, so I can see how he might not appeal to anyone who might not be a fan of the movies, but there's no denying that he lives up to the Masterpiece title. A few third-party companies have released a version of the Masterpiece Megatron recently. I even picked up Make Toys' Despotron before I heard MP36 was coming out. I swear he was announced while Despotron was in the mail to me. Even so, I didn't hesitate to get on the pre-order list because there's just no comparison to the official Masterpiece line from Takara. Sure, MP36 Megatron has some issues like not cleaning up well on the shoulders or the back, but there's just so much more about him that is just outstanding. The proportions are right, his face sculpts are perfect, and he comes with a multitude of neat accessories, including a battle-damaged chest and face to homage his final battle with Optimus Prime in the 1986 movie. But probably my favorite Easter egg is when you remove his face to swap it out. Behind his face is molded the circuitry seen in the 1986 movie as he's being reformatted into Galvatron by Unicron. So that's my top 17 figures, plus some, of 2017. What do you think? Did any of these make your list? Let me know in the comments. I'm Engineer Hoist. Keep rolling, my friends. Thanks for watching.